Hello everyone. Jewel Mayberry here, back with another super cool astrology video. And today we are talking about Libra rising and what people are like who have Libra ascendant, because the rising sign and the ascendant sign are the same thing. So the rising sign is the sign that was rising in the east the moment that you were born, the moment that your birth chart was cast. So the rising sign is really important because it's one of the three legs of our personality. There's the sun, the moon, and the rising sign, and these three things really make up mostly who we are. So the sign that is our ascendant is really important because it sets up all the houses and who the houses are ruled by. And a house is ruled by a certain planet, because a certain sign is there and every planet rules a sign. So with Libra risers, their ascendant ruler is Venus. So the chart ruler is Venus because Venus rules Libra. And so these people tend to be attractive. They tend to come off as they're more cordial and quiet. They're fairly easy to get along with. There's a lot of blondes that are Libra risers, a lot of light-haired people. If there's, a Libra riser in the family, typically, they'll be the blondest in the family. They have usually a typically very nice body shape, and they're a very pleasing person to be around. Try to be very polite, very much into politeness and wanting to, come off as pleasant. So the second house is really kind of more complex because we have Scorpio ruling this. So that means we have Pluto and Mars that rule the second house. So Scorpio is a complicated sign, and it usually signifies difficulty and secrets and I want to say transformation. Things that were a lot of ups and downs in the early childhood. The second house really describes our early upbringing. And, the second, the third house, and the fourth are really talking about, our early childhood. And Libra risers tend to be really attached to their early childhood and to their parents. And to siblings as well, but not so much. It's really that they put a lot of stock in how they were raised in early childhood, for good or bad. They can be really stuck on what was going on there throughout their lives. And there could also be some kind of secret or something that was not quite right about the early upbringing. And, depending on where Pluto is placed, if it's in the 8th or the 12th house, that's going to increase those chances. And so, Pluto's a complicated planet. And so, usually there was a more complicated upbringing. And there was a lot going on. And, typically there was some weirdness that was not spoken of. The third house is Sagittarius, and we have Jupiter ruling this. And the third house is really about communication. And these people are actually really expressive and expansive communicators. I mean, when they, write a paragraph, we may write a paragraph, but they'll write 6. And they have a lot to say. And they are very kind of high-minded about their speech and about, they have a large vocabulary. And are very much, about connecting with friends and neighbors, and about, they tend to be very social, and they tend to put a lot of importance on developing networking relationships. And, they'll typically, have a lot of Facebook friends, or a large social circle. The fourth house, we have Capricorn there, and Saturn is ruling Capricorn. And typically, when these people were growing up, it was a very structured and regimented environment. It was, you went to bed at a certain time, and you had a schedule, and you knew what to expect. And there was typically quite a lot of discipline that went on in the home as well. And when these people have their own children, they tend to be, very scheduled, very much about, meeting the deadline, and they're structured about how they raise their children. Their, nap time is at a certain time. It's not when you fall asleep in the hallway when it's up to you. It's, it's at 1 o'clock. So there tends to be a lot of structure in the home life and in the early upbringing as well. Fifth house is Aquarius, and we have Saturn and Uranus ruling that. And they tend to be technically talented. They're good with machines. They're good with math. They make good engineers. They make excellent people that can, deal with angles and figures. And even if they don't necessarily have a math brain, they have an aptitude for technology. They have a talent for it. And they are more, I want to say, standoffish when it comes to friends. They're friendly. They like having a lot of friends, but they are more choosy about what they share. I yak about my sex life with the hairstylist, but these people, not so much. It's going to have to be, like an appropriate environment with, the right person, and then they may open up a little bit. But they're, more modest, I guess, about their expression and what they will choose to talk about. The sixth house, we have Pisces, and Jupiter and Neptune are ruling that. And the sixth house is really about our routine and our daily life, and about our habits, and it describes our health and work animals and things like that. And when we have Neptune here, in the house that rules diseases and maladies, we see somebody who is more prone to mental illness than other things. Jupiter also rules this, so they tend to be lucky with their health. But if they do deal with something, it's usually psychosomatic things that are a result of, emotional issues or emotional problems, or they'll have, a traumatic event where the energy like settles into a certain part of their body, and they can be more mystically inclined about their health. They're more into naturopathic things. They're more into natural health. They're, very much about, the latest and greatest, naturopathic benefit, as opposed to running out and getting the latest and greatest vitamin. So they're more, are more liable to use, spirituality to heal themselves as well. Seventh house, we have Aries there. And this is an interesting descendant to have, because Mars rules Aries, and Mars is a jerk. He is really hot-headed, and he's selfish, and he's athletic, and he is very much about all himself, and energy and drive and ambition. And so these people, Libra risers, tend to attract somebody like this to them, unless you have Neptune or the moon in the seventh house. You're going to be attracting more of a fiery partner to you. And it depends on how the seventh house ruler is placed. If Mars is next to Venus, or if Mars is next to Neptune, or if you have, a polite planet in the seventh house, that's going to mitigate things and change things somewhat. But for the most part, these people attract a very hot-headed, athletic, and somewhat selfish partner, and there tends to be a lot of back and forth in the marriage. And they actually enjoy that to some degree, Libra risers. They don't mind kind of, the Costanza relationship where they're, there's arguments and makeup and breakup, and they tend to be okay with that, where I would be in tears. They see that as part of the bonding process and part of the everyday, and they can be with an argumentative person, and they can tolerate that. So it's an interesting descendant to have, and you really have to consider how Mars is placed in a Libra ascendant's chart. The 8th house is Taurus, and we have Venus ruling this. And Venus not only rules the 8th house, it rules the 1st house. So typically, Libra risers are very much into matters of the 8th house. The 8th house is, occult things, hidden things, sex, death, transformation, other people's money, taxes, weirdness, how you handle your ups and downs, crises are all found in the 8th house. And again, depending on how Venus is placed, this will give you more information about how this really operates in these people's lives, and really in the Mahadasha, the planetary time period that's ruling your whole life in Vedic astrology. When you are in the Mahadasha of the 8th house, all kinds of occult experiences can come to you. You can really come into your own when you have this planetary time period going on, especially, if Venus is, conjunct Neptune or in the 12th, or something like that. If it's, mystically placed, you can really, have this potential for seeing ghosts, for psychic ability, for developing intuition that you never knew you had. It's a really interesting placement, and Libra risers just tend to love things of the 8th house. 9th house, we have Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini. And it's interesting because we have 3rd house being ruled by Sagittarius, which is Jupiter, and then we have 9th house being ruled by Gemini, which is Mercury. So, their communication, because 3rd house is, more verbal communication. 9th house is more like higher mind communication. It's, our big thoughts. It's the large ideas that we think and communicate. So, it's an interesting chart because these people tend to be, very communicative about their philosophies and about their big thoughts. And they're great teachers because they can really communicate. The 9th house is the house of teaching. And when we have Mercury, the planet of communication, these people have really got it going on. They can make great professors. They often have a need to teach. They feel like that's something that they were born to, and they can really pull it off and be extraordinarily interesting. 10th house, we have Cancer, and the moon rules Cancer. And so we tend to see Libra risers choose a job that is service-oriented. You know, the moon wants to give, and it's a nurturer. And the 10th house is the house of our career and how we're seen and our public life and the reputation that precedes us. So these people tend to be helpers. They also tend to come from a parent that was in the helping profession. You know, the father was often, you know, either a doctor or in the hospitality profession of some time. There was service involved, service to other people. And they are known, Libra risers, for being a very nurturing soul, for being a more of a nurturing type of person, because, you know, the 10th house is our reputation. We have the moon ruling that. 11th house, we have the sun. And the 11th house is really where we find our friends, our large groups of friends. And whatever house that the sun rules, that's really where our ego thrust is. That's where we find where we want to, you know, really display who we are in a strong way. And the 11th house is our hopes and wishes, incoming gains, like liquid wealth. You know, what we really want is found in the 11th house, and friends as well. So Libra risers tend to give to get. They want to network so they come out on top. They want to make friends so they, you know, end up with an edge. There's ego that goes on with their networking. So, you know, they may have, you know, on Facebook, they may accept, you know, any friend request because, you know, there's the potential for networking, or for, you know, maybe, you know, bringing them in to your business, or making them aware of something that you're doing, and, you know, maybe they'll buy, or, you know, they're more calculating about their friendships, and they do tend to invest in their friendships what they think they might get back. 12th house, we have Virgo there, and Mercury rules Virgo, and so there is a great interest in the things of the 12th house. The 12th houses. See, we have, you know, Venus loving things of the 8th house, and we also have Mercury loving things and really being interested in things of the 12th house. 12th house is the unconscious. It's spirituality. It's really where we lose our energy, where we give it away. And it's a, you know, a very mysterious house, and it's, you know, where things are hidden. And so they tend to be very investigative about things, you know, of the unseen. They want to know what's going on there. And they will, you know, research these things, and, you know, practice meditation, and, you know, try to, you know, gain information about, you know, the hidden realm and spirituality. And they end up being really good teachers about this kind of thing. And, you know, we have, you know, Mercury ruling the 9th of teaching, and then Mercury being really interested in the things of the 12th house. So oftentimes we find a teacher that teaches of, you know, the 12th house and of the 8th house, because that's what they love. So it's a real interesting placement, and they tend to be more, I want to say left brain thinkers, even though they're so they're very creative, but not so much in what they make, in how they think. And so, you know, Mercury ruling the 12th, you know, makes those things of the 12th house more real to them, because, you know, things of the left brain of Mercury are very concrete. So, you know, Libra risers will tend not to question, you know, their intuition. they'll tend not to question, you know, signs that they see or omens. They see, though, that as, you know, a concrete, legitimate way to see things. So that is my analysis of Libra rising, and I hope you enjoyed it, and you'll join me soon. Please subscribe to my channel, and you can find me on Facebook at Truth in Aspect Astrology, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.